everyone, so it is Friday, so I want to talk about the things that I have picked up or finished in the last week. So I did these Friday reads videos in April to try it out to see if I liked it, and I turned out really enjoying this kind of just casual chatty about the things that I'm in the middle of, and also you can see my really wild behavior of how I pick up a ton of books at one time and then I put them down for weeks at a time and then pick them back up and just always have too many things I'm reading at once. It's like an extreme mood reader issue. I think it's just me not being able to focus at this point in my life on one thing at a time. And so, yeah, and this being the first week of the month, I do what I often do on the first week of the month, where I get so excited about my TBR books that instead of being other people and picking up a book and reading it, I just was I want to pick up all the books on my TBR and read them at once. And so I started 5 or 6 books this week instead of just taking my time. And I also have stuff that is coming in that I started in April and then, still haven't finished yet. So this first week of May, I have only finished one book. The rest of these I'm in the middle of. So the only one I finished was Well Matched by Jen DeLuca. I had really loved the first book in the series, Well Met, and then I didn't like the second book, so I was hesitant to pick this up. I had even pre-ordered this, so I've had this for a long time, and I don't remember how long that was. Whenever this came out last year, I had bought it right away, pre-ordered it and started it, but then I was oh, I don't know, what if I don't love it? So I put it down. Shouldn't have been worried. I did love it. And part of why I love this is that the main character in this is 40 years old. I'm 40 years old. So I think I was able to connect with her more than some of the romance novels that, star 20-something. It's fine. I still like reading romance novels, but, I might not connect with those main characters as much as this one. So I really did love that one. So that was the only one that I have finished this week. And then I just picked up a bunch. So first of all, I just decided to split these into my audiobooks and then my physical books. So the things that I'm listening to in audio, I am still reading R.O. Shaw and the Nectar of Immortality. This is book 5 in the R.O. Shaw series. We're listening to this, my daughter and I, in the car, and we're a pretty good chunk of the way through. Is that about 2/3 of the way through it, and still enjoying it. I'm really looking forward to see how she wraps this series up and kind of see what the big climax is. And then at the end of April, I started Pride and Prejudice on audiobook, and I got the audiobook that's narrated by, now I can't remember her name. I'll put a picture of her here, but she's in Bridgerton, and she's a, British actress, and I got the audiobook that's narrated by her, and so I'm enjoying this. I am exactly halfway, I would say, through Pride and Prejudice. I shouldn't say I've never read Pride and Prejudice. I read it when I was in my early 20s and wasn't reading classics at all, wasn't into slower books, and so I didn't like it. And now that I am a little more into a slow build in a book, I'm enjoying this a lot. So it makes sense. A lot of people love Pride and Prejudice. I just was thinking, oh, I didn't like that. But that was so long ago. That was 20 years ago. So I'm glad I'm picking it back up. I'm also listening to The Beauty of Darkness by Mary E. Pearson. This is the last book in this trilogy, and I'm just going slow. I'm only at the very beginning of the audiobook. I have not gotten much progress in this because I don't know, I'm not super excited about this one because I didn't love book 2, but I'm I need to finish the trilogy and maybe I'll love this one because it's the conclusion, because often, middle books have that kind of middle book syndrome. So I'm hoping this will be a really great conclusion, but I was really getting tired of the love triangle in the second book. So here's hoping that this one doesn't have as much of a love triangle. So I am slowly reading that one. I'm sure at some point it'll pick up and then I will take off with that one. And then the one I started in May is Cleopatra, and this is just a biography about Cleopatra, and I think I'm almost 100 pages into it, and I am not loving it, sadly, but I'm hoping that I will like it more. Just that right now it's so much of the political stuff, which makes sense because she is a political leader of that time, but I'm just not really getting fully absorbed in her life. I'm just okay, I'm done talking about war and politicians and all that. So I don't know, that might just be that I don't love this book, but I'm hoping that it'll kind of pick up as it goes. I mean, it's not fiction, so it's not like it's going to pick up in plot, but I'm hoping that I will get absorbed in it more and enjoy it as it goes. So those were all the audiobooks. So now on to the things I'm picking up physically. One thing that has, most of these are new, but this one I started in April, and that's Antony and Cleopatra by Shakespeare. And I am just going through this very slow. Like, the play is actually, there's a lot of commentary at the beginning. So the play starts here, and so that's how much of the play I've read so far. So I'm not even halfway into the play. But I have never read this one or watched it. So I feel like when I haven't read or watched or don't have experience with the full story of a Shakespeare play, I have to go really slow in the reading and really absorb the footnotes and like figure out what's going on. And this one starts out with a lot of like setup of the characters, which very similar, obviously, to reading Cleopatra, except for this is taking place like later on. I'm at the point in here where she's still like interacting with Julius Caesar, and this is obviously after her time with Julius Caesar, when she's with Mark Antony. So it's a different time period, but yeah, it's taking me a little bit longer. Maybe by the time I get to Mark Antony in this book, I will actually finish Antony and Cleopatra. Wouldn't that be nice? And then I am reading volume 4 of Spy Family, and I'm really, really enjoying this volume. I'm almost halfway through this one, and I don't know why it's taking me so long because it's a volume of manga, but I basically, it's split into like 6 chapters in here, and I basically read a chapter a day and then move on to reading other things, but I really am liking this volume of it. I have repicked up The Siren of Sussex by Mimi Matthews, which is a historical romance. I had picked it up back when it first came out, I think in January. Is that when it came out this year? And I'd read like a couple chapters and then set it down. And I'm farther than what my bookmark is because I'm actually reading this on my phone as an ebook. So I'm probably about 5 chapters in. So I'm still towards the beginning, still getting to know the characters. But I'm liking it more. I mean, like, it's not that I wasn't liking it the first time, I just wasn't in the mood for it. And now after reading Well Met, or Well Matched, I'm like in a romance mood. So I thought this is the time to pick this up while I'm in a romance mood. So hopefully that'll start moving a little faster. And then this week is the Bookathon, Readathon, hosted by Keisha from A Book Like You, where she is having everyone read Spooky Middle Grade that are participating in the Readathon. And so I'm picking up Juniper Berry, which is a spooky middle grade book, and I'm about 50 pages in, and I'm really loving the artwork in this. I don't want to spoil anything, so this is the art piece that's right at the very title page. I'm loving the artwork. There's only one full page picture per chapter, but I'm just loving that. And so far, this is pretty dark, and I'm only a few chapters in, but I'm already like, oh gosh, I'm feeling so bad for our main character, Juniper. It's like this girl who she's at home alone all the time. Her parents are really famous actors, and they completely ignore her, and she doesn't have any friends. She's so lonely. Her parents don't pay attention to her at all, but it didn't used to be like that, so she thinks something has happened to her parents that made them this way. And it's very sad and dark so far, but I want to see where it's going. Like, I'm assuming this is more, what I've heard is this is more of a fable, so I'm assuming there's some kind of moral thing we're learning about as my kids are screaming and fighting in the background. And then the other readathon I'm participating in this month is a readathon about nonfiction that's taking place on Instagram called May I Read More Nonfiction. And I, of course, have picked up several nonfiction. Like Cleopatra was one, but then I'm also reading If Only They Could Talk by James Herriot, which is part of his memoirs. I'm only 1 chapter into this, but I loved that 1 chapter, like totally absorbed from the very beginning. Absolutely loved it. So I am excited to continue that one. And then I also picked up We Are Displaced by Malala Yousafzai. And I am also only 1 chapter into this because, like, the way the readathon works is you only need to read 1 chapter of a nonfiction a day. And so depending on whether I want to listen to a chapter of Cleopatra or physically read a chapter, I'm kind of like rotating between these 3 books. This will eventually go, at the beginning, it's Malala's story, and then it's going on to other refugee stories, so I'm excited to get to that part. So I might just go ahead and read all of Malala's section, which is the first like 6 chapters or something like that. Yeah, the first 6 chapters, and then that way I can get to the other refugee stories, because I just recently read her memoir, so I think I already know that kind of section, so I want to quickly read that, and then I'm really excited about both these nonfiction. So that's it. Those are the things. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say that's it. That's a lot of things that I am in the middle of reading. Yeah, I don't know why I do this. I don't know why I pick up so many things at once. I mean, it's just like my mood. Sometimes I'm in the mood for nonfiction. Sometimes I'm in the mood for fantasy. You know, I'm all like need to go by my mood, or else I just don't read. If I only pick up one book at a time and I'm not in the mood for that book, then I might go like a whole week without reading, and I don't want to do that. So that's why I end up with like so many books at a time. Yeah, so that's it for me. I hope you're having a good first week of May and enjoying what you're reading. Bye.